So I'm wearing a Sleepaway Camp t-shirt today rather than my usual cleavage revealing everything because I want to talk to you. So the director of Sleepaway Camp has said that he wants to remake the movie now. And of course, the trans community would be probably offended if they remade it shot for shot, of course, for the obvious ending of that movie. And I tried to email him this idea a while back, like before he came back and said he wanted to remake it. And I said, you don't do a remake, you don't do a sequel, you do a requel. You retcon movies 2 through, I want to say there are like 4. I watched all the sequels at one point, they were fuck awful. And you make it so that those movies were like the Stab movies in the Scream franchise, where they're like, those are fake. Those were made in universe. You open on this guy, he's horribly scarred. He's spreading hatred online about this woman who's a killer and she's trans and all this other stuff. And of course, he's being bigoted and he's not using her correct pronouns and whatnot. He's trying to stir up hatred of her. She wants to open a camp. And you find out that this is actually Angela from the first movie come back trying to prevent other Angelas from happening. Because her aunt was fucking crazy. The aunt essentially said, okay, yeah, you can transition. It won't do to have another boy in the house. No, no, no. The crazy way she actually did in the first movie. And she was actually not just a nurse, but an army nurse who trained Angela to kill to protect the fact that she was trans, because she basically said, you either kill them or they're going to kill you, right? So this is a kid who was trained to do all this shit, which makes sense because she was doing it to full-grown adults and essentially at one point kids, I think, in the first movie. But she was trained to do it, which makes more sense because she's indoctrinated and basically told, kill or be killed. And now she actually has been through therapy and finished transitioning and all this other stuff. And this guy's trying to sow all of this discord around her opening up this camp, but the town is suffering. And of course it needs the income from something like a camp. And she wants to open up a queer-friendly camp for kids who are trans, questioning, whatever. And of course, one night, people in masks show up to harm the kids, harm Angela, because they claim that, she's training a new generation of baby Angelas, killers, threats, whatever. And then someone winds up dead. Not one of the kids, because that's a bit much at first, but one of the counselors who got hired on. And the cop in charge basically says, okay, we're going to shut it down. And the phones are dead. And chains Angela to a desk to make sure that you're not going to do this again, because he thinks that it is her. Then someone else dies. And the cop's oh shit, I better let her out or they're gonna get hurt. Angela breaks free, saves some of the kids from the killer. A killer. The killers, there could be multiple. It could be very strangers. They're all wearing masks. It's all fucked up, And the bigots are coming for the camp. And this cop, by the way, he's the brother of one of the people who got killed in the first movie, right? And eventually, a couple of kids die, a couple of the counselors die again. We have Angela. This becomes defense and survival horror against this slew of killers, right? It's essentially what if Lara Croft in the reboot trilogy of Tomb Raider was trans and was having to put axes through people's heads? And of course you give her the iconic updated versions of the kills from the original Sleepaway Camp, right? And eventually the killers, they kidnap the cop, they take him to a chapel that's on site because blah, 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 and then use him to lure Angela out, and there's one of them left, and it's the leader. He takes off his mask. We see the scars. We see everything. We see that it's the guy from the beginning of the movie who was sitting in a basement being a little creepazoid. He's tied up the cop. He's put the cop in one of the masks. And by now, kids have used cell phones. People have gotten to a point where they call the police for them to be on the way. So the mask comes off. Angela recognizes the guy right away. And it turns out it's the chef from the first movie who started it all by trying to be a pedo on Angela. And we have a trans woman taking out a pedo, which is awesome, by the way. Awesome. And she takes him out pretty easily. He's been trying to spread all this hate about her, and it's the cook from the first movie, because we saw him get taken out on a stretcher. If you remember, he survived. The burn scars are from him going in the soup that she, made sure he went in. And you show a remastered recording of that actually happening in the first movie. You don't mess with it at all. You show that clip so people know. But then after finishing off one of the killers, the cops draw down on the other cop who's still in a mask, and he's got tape over his mouth and he's all bound. Looks like he's one of the killers. Angela puts herself between the cop and bullets. Angela gets shot a few times. Now, there are two possible endings here. One, Angela dies. Two, we fade to black with the kids crying. It looks like Angela's crying. And then we go to a funeral, and certain people are protesting the funeral. We don't see the signs. And it's actually people protesting the funeral of the chef asshole. And then cut to Angela in her hospital bed, having taken the bullets for the cop. The cop has now forgiven her for the brother and everything, sees what she went through because of this chef that started all this shit. And he now owes her his life, right? Nurse comes in with all these flowers that are all around her, and there's a paper that says, Saint Angela has rescued all these kids, which, we title the movie Saint Angela. We do Sleepaway Camp subtitles, Saint Angela. And then the nurse comes in, okay, I've got to give you another injection, goes to stab the injection into Angela's arm, and you just see her wince up and that's the final shot, is Angela doing the exact same thing from the other movie. We fade to black from a freeze frame of that face. And then we've got all sorts of material for any sort of sequels, and Angela comes back and opens up the camp another time, and she actually is more successful this time, and the camp starts rolling, and it's been a few years, and then it happens again, and just endless material of survivor survives bigots. And yeah, that's my pitch for Sleepaway Camp St. Angela.